Beloved, there are moments in life when we come to the end of our wisdom, when we look at the paths before us and every road seems blurred. There are times when you stand and say to yourself, I don't know my way, Lord. Please show me what to do. It is not weakness to admit that you don't know, it is wisdom. Because the truth is, the limitation of man is that we are bound by time, bound by knowledge, bound by experience. And so left to ourselves, we will make mistakes. But the one who made the path, the one who knows tomorrow more than we know yesterday, he is willing to guide us if only we humble ourselves and ask. Have you ever been in a season where every option looks right, but you are not sure which one carries your destiny? You may have a degree, but you are not sure which job to take. You may be in a relationship, but you are not sure if it is God's best for you. You may even have opportunities opening, but you are asking, which one is truly aligned with my purpose? It is in those moments that this prayer becomes real. Lord, I don't know my way. Please show me what to do. The danger is not in not knowing. The danger is in pretending that you know. When you move without direction, you can waste years of your life. There are people who invested in businesses that look promising, but because it was not divine direction, they lost everything. There are people who entered friendships and relationships that looked harmless, but because they did not ask for guidance, it drained them of destiny. Direction is superior to speed. Running fast in the wrong direction is not progress. Listen carefully, your destiny is too important to gamble with guesses. When God shows you the way, clarity comes, peace comes, and confidence comes. You no longer love trying everything. You live with precision. When others are confused, you can rest because you know the one who goes before you. The question tonight is, how do you access that guidance? How do you position yourself so that when you say, Lord, show me what to do, you can truly hear and follow? God speaks in many ways, through His word, through inner conviction, through the counsel of the wise, through circumstances, and through peace. But above all, He guides those who are surrendered. Many want God's direction but are not ready to obey it. He will not show you what to do if you already have your decision fixed. Guidance is for the surrendered. Beloved, never be ashamed to say, I don't know. Because when you acknowledge that you make room for divine wisdom, there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end is destruction. But there is also the way of God, and that way leads to life, peace, and fulfillment. Tonight, if you are at that crossroad of destiny, stop struggling. Say it with sincerity, Lord, I don't know my way. Please show me what to do. And wait in faith, because He is too faithful to leave you without direction. There is something powerful that happens when a man or a woman comes to the place of admitting that they do not know it all. Admitting your limitation is not weakness, it is wisdom. We live in a world where people are taught to always appear strong, to never let anyone see them uncertain, to always wear the mask of control even when deep inside they are confused. But have you noticed that pretending to know has never solved a problem? Have you seen someone confidently take the wrong turn on a road and still end up at the right destination? No, because direction is not about confidence. It is about accuracy. You can be very confident and still be very wrong. Think about it in daily life when you are driving in a city you don't know well. The gist is available, but you decide to guess your way because you feel asking for help will make you look weak. You drive around in circles, wasting fuel, wasting time, getting frustrated, when in reality, stopping for just 2 minutes to admit that you don't know the way could have saved you hours. This is the story of many lives. They waste years, resources, and even relationships because they are too proud to admit, I don't know my way. Wisdom is found in humility. Strength is not the absence of limitation. Strength is knowing when to seek help. Even the best doctors still consult books and colleagues. Even the best athletes still submit to their coaches. Even the most successful leaders surround themselves with advisors. Life itself is structured to remind us that no one is all-sufficient. The moment you try to live as though you are the source of your own wisdom, you begin to walk into unnecessary pain. Imagine a student in a classroom who refuses to ask questions because they don't want their friends to laugh at them. The lecturer explains and moves on, but the student keeps quiet. At the end of the semester, failure comes knocking, not because the student was dumb, but because they were too proud to admit they didn't understand. How many of us have carried this same attitude into destiny? Instead of saying, I don't know my way, we keep quiet, we guess, and we fail quietly. Admitting your limitation is not a public display of weakness, it is a secret key to progress. Think of a traveler lost in a forest. Two people are lost together. One insists on figuring it out alone. The other admits they are lost and looks for a guide who will come off safely. The one who was humble enough to say, I need help. Sometimes your survival depends on your ability to say, I don't know, please show me. The deception of pride is that it makes you think everyone is depending on you to have it all figured out. But the truth is, people respect honesty more than pretense. When you admit you don't know, you open the door for others to teach you, to guide you, and to help you avoid mistakes. Wisdom is not having all the answers. Wisdom is knowing where to find them. Look at daily relationships. How many friendships and marriages have broken down because someone refused to admit they didn't know how to handle a situation? Instead of saying, teach me how to love you better, they pretend they already know, and hurt becomes multiplied. How many parents have lost connection with their children because they refused to admit they didn't know how to bridge the generation gap? Admitting limitation could have saved the bond. Listen carefully. Life will always bring you to points where your knowledge runs out. You may be talented, skilled, and educated, but there will come a moment when all you have is not enough for where you are going. In those moments, pride will tell you to fake it until you make it, but wisdom will tell you to admit your limitation and seek guidance. It takes courage to say, I don't know, but that courage is what positions you for answers. Have you noticed that when you finally ask for help after struggling for a long time, the solution often looks simple? You wasted months trying, but the moment you admit limitation, direction comes and everything becomes clear. It is not that the solution wasn't available, it is that pride blinded you from accessing it. Think of your phone when it runs out of battery. Do you feel ashamed to plug it in? No, because you know the battery was never designed to last forever without recharging. In the same way, you were not designed to have endless wisdom without seeking direction. Admitting your limitation is like plugging into a higher source. It is acknowledging that as great as you are, you still need guidance beyond yourself. Many people confuse pride with strength. They think strength is acting as though you know everything. No, real strength is being able to say, I have reached my limit and now I need help. It takes a strong person to kneel down and admit they cannot do it alone. It takes a strong person to pick up the phone and say, please show me how to do this. It takes a strong person to pause and say, I don't know my way, but I can learn. Beloved, think of how much pain could have been avoided if we all practiced this wisdom. Think of how many bankruptcies could have been avoided if someone admitted they didn't understand finance and asked for help. Think of how many broken hearts could have been spared if someone admitted they didn't know how to choose rightly and sought guidance. Think of how many lives could have been saved if people admitted they didn't know their health condition and went for a checkup early. You see, the world calls it weakness when you don't know, but heaven calls it wisdom when you admit it. The admission is the doorway to revelation. The moment you humble yourself enough to say, I don't know, life begins to teach you, people begin to help you, and light begins to shine on your path. The danger of assumption is one of the greatest silent killers of destiny. Assumption is when you step into a situation without clarity, without confirmation, without seeking wisdom, yet you convince yourself that you already know. It looks harmless at first, but assumption has destroyed marriages, ruined careers, wasted years, and even cut short lives. Assumption is like walking into a dark room full of sharp objects without a light and convincing yourself that you know the way. You may take a few steps safely, but eventually you will hit something that will hurt you deeply. In daily life, you can see how assumption plays out. Imagine two friends planning a meeting. One assumes the meeting is at 4 o'clock, the other knows it is at 5. The one who assumes shows up angry and frustrated, waiting and wasting energy simply because they never confirmed. Assumption wastes time. In the same way, people assume that because an opportunity looks good, it must be the right one. Someone assumes that because a business is trending, it is automatically profitable for them. Another assumes that because everyone is going to a certain place, it must be the right place for them too. But what looks right to everyone may not be right for you. Assumption is dangerous because it feeds on pride. Pride tells you, you don't need to ask, you don't need to confirm, you don't need to seek counsel, just go ahead, you are smart enough. But humility says, let me verify, let me ask, let me pause before I decide. Many people would have saved themselves from heartbreak, loss, and pain if they had stopped to ask just one question before acting. Think about relationships. How many young men and women assumed they had found love simply because they felt butterflies in their stomach? They assumed feelings were enough to sustain a lifelong commitment. They assumed a smile meant loyalty. They assumed presence meant purpose. And years later, they discovered that assumption had cost them their peace. They never asked the deeper questions, never sought counsel, never tested the foundation, and now they live with regret. Assumption has destroyed more relationships than outright wickedness because it blinds people to reality. In career and business, assumption is equally dangerous. People assume that because they have a degree, they are guaranteed success. They assume that because they have a talent, opportunities will automatically find them. They assume that because others are making money in a certain investment, they too will succeed. And then when storms come, they realize they built on a foundation of assumption instead of knowledge. You imagine a builder who assumes the ground is strong enough to hold a house, but never tests the soil. The building may look beautiful for a while, but when pressure comes, it collapses. That is exactly what assumption does to destiny. It allows you to build without checking if the ground is right. And when the storms of life come, the cracks show. In friendships, assumption makes us think people know how we feel even when we never told them. It makes us think someone is angry with us when in reality they are just tired. It makes us think silence means agreement when it could mean confusion. How many conflicts could have been avoided if people stopped assuming and started asking? The danger of assumption is that it creates false security. It makes you feel safe while you are actually exposed. It makes you feel wise while you are walking into foolishness. And the tragedy is that many only realize the truth when the damage has already been done. Listen carefully. It is better to appear ignorant and ask a question than to assume and suffer later. There is no shame in asking. There is no shame in confirming. The shame is in losing years of your life because you assumed you knew what you didn't know. In daily life, even small assumptions pain. A husband assumes his wife understands his love because he provides money, but he never expresses affection. Years later, he is shocked to discover she felt unloved all along. A student assumes they know the exam date but never checks, only to arrive late and fail. A driver assumes the road is clear without looking and an accident happens. Little assumptions create big disasters. There is a reason people say assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. It requires no research, no patience, no humility. It is laziness dressed as confidence. But life does not reward laziness. Life rewards clarity, diligence, and humility. The danger of assumption is also that it keeps people from seeking direction. When you assume you already know, you will never ask. When you never ask, you never receive. And when you never receive, you keep walking in circles, repeating the same mistakes. Think of the countless people who assumed they had time to pursue their dreams, only to wake up years later realizing time had passed them by. They assumed opportunities would always be there. They assumed health would always remain strong. They assumed people would always wait for them. And when reality set in, they discovered assumption had stolen what could never be recovered. Assumption is dangerous because it looks so small. It doesn't feel like rebellion. It doesn't feel like sin. It doesn't feel like laziness. But when multiplied, it robs destinies. It convinces you to take shortcuts instead of the path of wisdom. It convinces you to gamble instead of to prepare. It convinces you to guess instead of to confirm. And when life demands answers, assumption leaves you empty-handed. The wise never live by assumption. They live by clarity. They don't move just because others are moving. They don't jump just because others are jumping. They pause, they ask, they confirm, they seek counsel, they wait until light comes. That is why they avoid unnecessary pain, while others are trapped in regret. The danger of assumption is not that you might be wrong. The danger is that you might be wrong at a cost too heavy to bear. One wrong assumption can destroy a lifetime of effort. One wrong assumption can waste 10 years of labor. One wrong assumption can cost you relationships, resources, and opportunities you may never get back. That is why assumption must be treated like poison to destiny. Direction is superior to speed, and this truth is one of the most profound secrets that separates those who succeed in life from those who waste their years. Many people think the faster they move, the more progress they are making, but progress is not measured by motion. Progress is measured by direction. You can be running with all your strength, sweating, panting, and exhausting yourself, but if you are running on the wrong road, all your effort will only take you further away from your destination. Speed without direction is wasted energy, wasted time, and wasted destiny. Look at the picture of a man on a treadmill. He can run for hours, his heart racing, his sweat dripping, his muscles working, but at the end of it all, he is still in the same place. He had speed, but no direction. Many people live their lives exactly like that treadmill experience. They are busy from morning till night, always running, always chasing. But when you pause to ask them where exactly they are going, they cannot answer. Business is not progress and speed is not success. In daily life, how often do we see this play out? Someone graduates and immediately rushes into the first job offer without asking if it aligns with their purpose. They are happy to be moving fast, happy to be earning quickly. But years later, they discover they climbed the wrong ladder. Now they are successful in the wrong assignment, rich but empty, fast but lost. Another person rushes into a relationship because they felt lonely and wanted quick companionship, but they never asked if this person was truly meant for their future. They had speed, they rushed into marriage. But without direction, it became pain. Direction gives meaning to speed. Speed without direction is like driving a car at 100 kilometers per hour without knowing where you are going. You will get somewhere. But is that where you are supposed to be? Imagine leaving your house and entering the highway, stepping hard on the accelerator, overtaking everyone, but you never set your GPS, you never asked for the address. You may be ahead of everyone, but you are lost. This is the tragedy of many lives today. They boast about how fast they are moving, but they don't realize they are just lost faster. Think about it this way. If a man is walking slowly but on the right road, he will arrive at his destination eventually. But if another man is running with all his might on the wrong road, he will only end up tired and frustrated, no matter how fast he was. Direction is superior to speed because direction guarantees arrival, while speed without direction guarantees exhaustion. Daily life gives us countless examples. Have you ever seen a student who copies notes quickly, reads all night, and rushes to memorize everything, but because they never took time to understand the core concepts, they fail the exam? They had speed, but no direction. On the other hand, another student may study slower, take time to understand, ask the right questions, and in the end they succeed. The first trusted speed, the second trusted direction. In business, direction is even more important. Many people rush to start companies because they saw others doing it. They invest heavily, they hire quickly, they expand fast. But within a few years, the business collapses because it was never built on the right foundation. Another person may take years to research, plan, learn the terrain. And though they start small, their business stands for decades because they had direction. Speed without direction builds castles in the sand. Direction builds foundations in the rock. Even in friendships, direction is superior to speed. Some people rush to call others their best friends within days of meeting. They give full trust instantly, and soon they discover they open their hearts to betrayal. Others may take time, slowly discerning who to trust. And even though it looks like they are slow in building bonds, the friendships they eventually have are deep and lasting. The problem with this generation is that everyone is in a hurry. Everyone wants quick success, quick money, quick recognition, quick results. But life is not about how fast you move. Life is about how right you move. The one who waits to get direction before moving may look slow at first, but in the end, they will overtake those who rushed ahead blindly. Consider a farmer planting seeds. If he rushes and throws them carelessly without direction, they may never grow. Another farmer may take time. Prepare the soil carefully, plant each seed with precision, water them consistently, and though it looks slow, in due time he reaps a harvest. Direction is the wisdom of knowing how, when, and where, not just the speed of doing. Life is full of stories of people who rushed without direction and regretted it. A young man who rushed to take a loan because he assumed business would flourish, only to be buried in debt. A woman who rushed into relocation because others were traveling abroad, only to find herself stranded in a strange land. A graduate who rushed into any career because they wanted fast money, only to discover 10 years later that they hate waking up every morning. Speed can make you celebrated today, but only direction can make you fulfilled tomorrow. Direction is superior to speed because direction brings peace. When you know you are on the right path, even if you are walking slowly, there is peace in your heart. But when you are moving fast without clarity, your soul is restless. You may be admired by others, but deep inside you are uncertain, afraid, and pressured. Peace is the fruit of direction. Anxiety is the fruit of speed without direction. So the real question to always ask yourself is not how fast am I going, but am I going in the right direction? Every day before you pour all your energy into a task, ask, is this aligned with where I want to be? Before you rush into decisions, ask, is this truly where I should be investing my life? Because direction will always be superior to speed, and no matter how far you have gone on the wrong road, the wisdom is to stop, turn back, and choose the right one. Clarity comes from surrender, and this is one of the deepest mysteries of life that many people struggle to understand. The human mind is trained to believe that control is the key to clarity. We think that if we plan enough, if we calculate enough, if we gather enough information, then we will be able to see the full picture of our lives. But have you noticed that even with all your planning, there are still blank spaces you cannot fill? Have you noticed that no matter how much you try to predict tomorrow, it always has a way of surprising you? True clarity is not the product of endless calculation. True clarity is the fruit of surrender. Surrender is not giving up on life. It is not laziness. It is not folding your hands and waiting for life to happen. Surrender is the posture of humility where you acknowledge that as smart, as strong, and as experienced as you may be, you still cannot see everything. Surrender is when you lay down your pride of control and open yourself to guidance. And it is in that place of humility that clarity begins to flood your path. Look at daily life. Have you ever been in a situation where you kept trying to fix a problem on your own, stressing, worrying, and breaking your head over it? But the more you tried, the more confused you became. Then one day, out of frustration, you let go, you relaxed, and suddenly the answer you were searching for became so clear. Surrender unties the knots that anxiety creates. As long as you hold on to control tightly, you blur your own vision. When you surrender, peace comes, and in that peace, clarity is born. Many people are trapped in confusion, not because the answers are not available, but because they refuse to surrender. Imagine someone holding a glass of muddy water. If they keep shaking it, the water remains cloudy. But if they put the glass down and let it rest, the dirt settles and the water becomes clear. Surrender is like putting the glass down. Confusion is the product of constant agitation, but clarity comes when you surrender and allow life to settle. In relationships, this principle is powerful. People fight, argue, and insist on their own way. Each one wants to win. Each one wants to be in control. But clarity never comes in such an atmosphere. When one person finally surrenders their pride, steps back, and listens with humility, suddenly the real issues become clear. Surrender opens the door for understanding. Without surrender, arguments turn into endless circles with no resolution. In career too, surrender brings clarity. Many people rush from one job to another, from one idea to another, restless and unsure. They feel the pressure to figure everything out on their own. But sometimes the clarity they are looking for is on the other side of surrender. When you release the need to control every step and open your heart to guidance, the right doors begin to reveal themselves. Surrender does not mean you stop working. It means you stop worrying, stop forcing, and allow direction to flow. Think of a driver lost in a new city. He refuses to ask for directions, convinced he can figure it out on his own. He drives around for hours, wasting fuel, wasting time, getting more and more confused. But the moment he surrenders his pride and asks someone for help, in 2 minutes he receives the clarity that hours of guessing could not give him. Life is like that. As long as you insist on being in charge, you may keep driving in circles. When you surrender, guidance comes quickly. Surrender also brings inner clarity. How many people are clouded in their own hearts because they are fighting battles of control? They want life on their own terms. They want relationships to follow their script. They want success to come their own way. But the more they fight, the less peace they have. When they finally surrender their timeline, surrender their script, surrender their ego, suddenly their hearts are flooded with peace and clarity. In friendships, surrender creates clarity about who truly belongs in your circle. When you stop forcing people to stay in your life, you begin to see clearly who really values you. When you surrender the need to be liked by everyone, you begin to see clearly who genuinely loves you. Surrender removes the fog of desperation and gives you clarity about loyalty. Daily examples are everywhere. A student who is anxious about exams, trying to control every outcome, may burn out and lose focus. But when they surrender, when they calm down and simply study with consistency, their mind becomes clearer and they perform better. An athlete who overthinks every move may stumble, but when they surrender to the flow of their training, clarity guides every step. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. Clarity comes from surrender because surrender creates space for guidance to flow. When your hands are full of your own plans, there is no space for new direction. When your heart is full of your own fears, there is no space for peace. Surrender is the act of emptying yourself so that clarity can enter. Many people are afraid of surrender because they think it means losing control. But the irony is that in trying to hold control, they lose clarity, and in losing clarity, they lose direction. Surrender is not the end of control, it is the beginning of real control. It is choosing to align with a wisdom greater than yours. Look at the story of a man trying to fix a puzzle. He is stubborn, insisting on forcing pieces together that don't fit. Hours pass, frustration grows. The picture makes no sense. But when he finally surrenders, takes a deep breath, and allows himself to look again calmly, suddenly the pieces begin to fit effortlessly. This is the power of surrender. Clarity comes from surrender because surrender silences the noise inside. So many people cannot hear direction because their hearts are too loud with worry, pride, and fear. Surrender quiets the storm, and in that stillness, clarity speaks. You may not always see the whole picture, but when you surrender, you see the next step, and that is enough to keep moving. Peace is a sign of divine direction, and this is one of the simplest yet most powerful truths you can carry with you through life. Many times we look for big signs, dramatic confirmations, or extraordinary events to tell us if we are on the right path. But one of the clearest indicators that you are aligned with the right decision, the right relationship, the right opportunity, is the presence of peace in your heart. Not the absence of challenges, not the absence of questions, but the quiet assurance deep within that tells you, yes, this is the way. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever made a decision that looked good on the outside? It made sense logically, everyone clapped for you, but deep down you felt uneasy. You could not explain it, but something inside was restless. And later, when things fell apart, you remembered that inner unrest. That was not just your imagination, that was a signal. Peace is not a luxury, it is a compass. It whispers when everything else is loud. It tells you to pause when the world is shouting go. Look at daily examples. A man is offered a business deal that looks like the opportunity of a lifetime. The figures are perfect, the partners are promising, the profit looks guaranteed. Yet when he lies on his bed at night, his heart is troubled. No matter how much he calculates, the uneasiness will not leave. If he listens carefully, that lack of peace is warning him. If he ignores it and rushes ahead, he may discover that the deal was a trap. On the other hand, another deal may look small, not as attractive, but when he thinks about it, he feels calm, settled, at rest. That calmness is a sign of direction, telling him, this is safe, this is right. Peace is a language, but not everyone has learned to read it. Most people silence it because they are addicted to noise. They want the loud confirmations, they want the applause of people, they want the visible evidence. But destiny does not always announce itself with a trumpet. Sometimes it whispers with peace. Imagine a young woman in a relationship. On paper, the man is perfect. He has a good job, he is polite, he is admired by everyone. But each time she thinks about committing, something inside feels heavy. Her friends tell her not to overthink, her family says he is a good catch. But she knows that her heart has no peace. If she silences that voice, she may pay a painful price. Peace is not always popular, but peace will always be right. Look at the opposite as well. There are times when the decision does not look perfect to outsiders. Maybe the job offer is not glamorous, maybe the move looks risky, maybe the step does not make sense to others. But inside you feel peace, your heart is calm. Even if your mind is full of questions, that peace is telling you that you are aligned with something bigger than appearances. Peace does not mean the absence of storms, it means the storm cannot touch your center. In daily living, even small choices reveal this principle. Have you ever noticed how, when you finally make the right decision, you feel lighter? It is like a weight is lifted. You may still have challenges ahead, but the restlessness is gone. Peace has a way of confirming what your mind cannot fully explain. Think about a student choosing a course of study. One option promises money and recognition, but every time he considers it, he feels anxious and pressured. Another option may look less promising financially, but it brings him joy, it makes him feel alive, it gives him peace. Years later, the one who chose peace discovers he is fulfilled, while the one who ignored peace may end up wealthy but miserable. Peace is not about comfort. Peace is about alignment with destiny. Peace is also a protector. It saves you from traps that your eyes cannot see. You may not know the details, but peace will warn you before you step into danger. Unrest is not random. It is often a sign that something is wrong beneath the surface. How many people ignored the lack of peace in their hearts, only to later cry, "I knew something was not right." Think about a pilot flying a plane. He has radar systems that detect storms ahead even when the passengers cannot see them. Peace is like that radar. It alerts you when something ahead is not safe, and it reassures you when the path is clear. Passengers may not understand why the pilot suddenly changes course, but the pilot trusts the radar. In the same way, you must learn to trust the peace inside, even when others do not understand. Peace is also the sign that you have released control. When you are fighting to make things happen in your own strength, your heart is restless. But when you surrender and align with the right path, peace comes like a river. It does not mean everything is easy, but it means you can move forward without fear. In friendships and connections, peace is the difference between forced relationships and authentic ones. When you are with the right people, your soul feels at rest. You do not feel the need to perform, to pretend to impress. There is ease, there is flow, there is peace. When you are with the wrong people, you may laugh, you may pretend, but deep inside you feel drained, uneasy, restless. That is your signal. Peace is not a small thing to ignore. It is the inner voice that says yes when the world says no, and no when the world says yes. It is the gentle assurance that keeps you steady when others are panicking. It is the calm that anchors you when the winds of life blow fiercely. Peace is not weakness, peace is wisdom dressed in silence. Daily life proves it again and again. The right house, the right job, the right friendship, the right choice. When it is right, peace follows. When it is wrong, restlessness follows. And the more you learn to listen to that signal, the more your life aligns with purpose. Peace is not just a feeling. It is direction wrapped in calmness, a signpost that whispers, "This is the way, walk in it." God's guidance preserves destiny. And this is a reality that cannot be ignored by anyone who desires to live a life of meaning and fulfillment. Every human being is born with a purpose, a path uniquely designed, a story waiting to be written. But the truth is, life is filled with countless paths, countless choices, countless voices calling for our attention. One wrong decision can alter years of progress. One wrong turn can lead to heartbreak, loss, and regret. But when you allow divine guidance to lead you, it becomes like a shield that protects your journey, keeping you away from detours, delays, and destruction. Guidance is not just about knowing where to go. It is about being preserved from what could have ruined you. Think of daily life. Imagine a traveler on a highway. There are multiple exits, some that look appealing, some that seem faster, some that look more exciting. Without a guide, the traveler can easily take the wrong exit, only to find themselves lost in unknown terrain, wasting fuel, wasting time, and exposing themselves to danger. But with a GPS, every turn is calculated, every exit is confirmed, every detour avoided. Guidance preserves the traveler from unnecessary loss. In the same way, God's guidance is the GPS of destiny. Without it, life becomes trial and error. But with it, every step becomes intentional. Many lives are filled with scars, not because they lacked talent or passion, but because they lacked guidance. Someone chose a business that looked profitable, but because it was not aligned with divine direction, it drained them financially and emotionally. Another entered a relationship that looked promising, but because it was outside divine leading, it ended in betrayal and heartbreak. Another rushed into relocation because others were moving abroad, only to find themselves stuck in loneliness and struggle. Guidance could have preserved them from pain that talent and effort could not. Guidance preserves destiny because destiny is fragile. One wrong relationship can destroy decades of progress. One wrong business deal can sink a lifetime of savings. One wrong decision can alter a future forever. Many people assume that because they are strong, they will survive anything. But strength is not what preserves destiny. Guidance is. Even the strongest man can be broken by one wrong step. But the weakest person can be preserved if they walk in guidance. Daily examples prove this. A student guided to study the right course is preserved from years of frustration, working in a field they hate. A young man guided to choose the right friends is preserved from destructive influences that could have led him astray. A woman guided in choosing the right partner is preserved from the pain of broken homes and shattered dreams. Guidance is the invisible hand that keeps you from walking into pits disguised as opportunities. Many people think success is about effort alone, but effort without guidance can waste destiny. Imagine rowing a boat with all your strength in the wrong direction. No matter how hard you row, you are only moving further from your destination. But with guidance, even small effort leads you to the right place. This is why some people achieve in 5 years what others could not in 50. It is not always about working harder. It is often about being guided rightly. Guidance preserves destiny by saving time. Life is short, and time is one resource you cannot recover once lost. Some people spend 10 years pursuing the wrong career, only to wake up later wishing they could start again. Some spend their youth in relationships that never align with their future, only to realize later that they wasted their prime years. But when you are guided, you skip unnecessary detours and move straight to the path that carries your destiny. Guidance also preserves peace. How many people live in constant anxiety because they are unsure if they are on the right path? They move, but they move in fear, always second-guessing themselves. But when you are guided, peace becomes your companion. Even when storms come, you remain calm because you know you are on the right road. Guidance does not mean there will be no challenges, but it means you will never face a challenge that will break your destiny. In friendships and associations, guidance is critical. The wrong association can corrupt your values, drain your energy, and delay your journey. But when you are guided, you find yourself connected to people who strengthen you, who push you toward your purpose, who preserve your focus. Destiny is too precious to share with just anyone, and guidance ensures that the people who walk with you are the ones meant to. Guidance preserves destiny because it keeps you aligned with timing. Life is not only about what you do, but when you do it. Planting a seed in the wrong season, no matter how fertile the ground, will not produce harvest. In the same way, doing the right thing at the wrong time can still bring frustration. Guidance aligns you with divine timing, ensuring that you do not miss your seasons. Imagine someone rushing ahead to marry, to invest, to relocate, simply because others are doing so. They may succeed in copying actions, but they cannot copy timing. Everyone's journey is unique, and without guidance, comparison can destroy you. But with guidance, you move at the rhythm set for your life. And that rhythm preserves you from unnecessary competition and pressure. Guidance also preserves resources. How many people have wasted money, energy, and even relationships because they poured them into the wrong place? Guidance teaches you where to invest, who to trust, what to pursue, and what to ignore. With guidance, nothing in your life is wasted. Everything is channeled into purpose. Beloved, guidance is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Without it, destiny is vulnerable to mistakes, distractions, and destruction. With it, destiny is preserved, protected, and fulfilled. When you are guided, you are saved from being everywhere and ending up nowhere. When you are guided, you are spared from battles that were never yours to fight. When you are guided, every step, every choice, every connection becomes a building block that leads you to the fulfillment of your purpose. Divine direction comes in many forms, and this is one of the mysteries that makes life both exciting and humbling. Too often people expect that if God will speak or guide them, it must always be through a loud voice, a dramatic dream, or some extraordinary encounter. But divine direction is not limited to one method. It comes in different ways, sometimes subtle, sometimes clear, sometimes through people, sometimes through circumstances, sometimes through that gentle nudge in your heart that you cannot shake off. Many people miss divine direction because they are waiting for it to come in only one form. They expect a dramatic encounter and ignore the quiet promptings. They expect a prophet to speak, but they overlook the wisdom of a trusted friend. They expect a burning bush, but they ignore the peace that settles in their heart when they make the right decision. The danger of limiting God to one method is that you can miss Him while He is right there guiding you. Consider daily life. A young man may be planning to take a job offer in another city. He has prayed for clarity, expecting a dream or a voice. But instead of a voice, guidance comes through a conversation with a mentor who simply asks him one question: have you thought about how this move will affect your long-term vision? That one question is enough to stir his heart and redirect his choice. No dreams, no thunder, no voice, just wisdom clothed in human words. Divine direction came in the form of counsel. Look at another scenario. A student is confused about what to study. While she is waiting for a vision in the night, she realizes that every time she reads or listens to topics in a particular field, she feels alive, she feels passionate, she feels a sense of flow. That joy, that excitement is not random. It is a form of divine direction. Passion itself is one of the ways God leads us into our destiny. Sometimes divine direction comes through discomfort. A man may stay in a place for years, comfortable but stagnant. Suddenly, nothing excites him anymore. The comfort becomes frustration and opportunities start drying up. He prays and wonders why things are not working. But that very discomfort is a signal that his season in that place is over. Many people cry when comfort leaves, but discomfort can be the hand of God pushing you into the next season of your life. There are times when divine direction comes through closed doors. You try one business and it fails. You knock on one opportunity and it does not open. You apply for one job after another and all you hear is no. Sometimes those no's are not rejection, they are redirection. Every closed door is a message: this is not your path. If every door opened for you, you would walk into destruction thinking it was opportunity. But when doors close, God is silently leading you away from what could have destroyed you. Other times, divine direction comes through inner peace. You may not have all the answers, you may not have a detailed plan, but something inside you feels calm about a decision. While others are doubting, you are settled. That peace is God's fingerprint telling you, keep walking, this is safe. Daily examples show this. Think about someone who was about to sign a contract but felt restless and pulled back. Later, he discovered that the other party was dishonest. Direction came not through words, but through a lack of peace. Another person may feel unusually calm about a risky move, and though people laugh at them, time proves that the calmness was divine assurance. Sometimes divine direction comes in the form of opportunities. One door opens, not because you are the most qualified, but because you are meant to walk through it. Another door remains shut no matter how hard you push, because it was not yours to enter. Opportunities themselves are languages of guidance. At other times, divine direction comes through delay. Many people hate delay, but delay can be protection. You may want to rush into something, but delays slow you down until the right time or the right people are aligned. Later, you realize that had you rushed ahead, you would have missed what was truly yours. Guidance can even come through failures. You try and you fail, you attempt and you stumble, and yet those failures are teaching you skills, endurance, humility, and wisdom that you would not have gained otherwise. When you finally succeed, you look back and realize that the failures were not punishment but preparation. Divine direction can also come through ordinary conversations, the kind you almost ignore. A friend may casually mention a book, and that book holds the key to your next level. A colleague may share a story, and within that story is the answer to what you have been praying about. God hides direction in simple moments to test if you are sensitive enough to recognize it. Sometimes direction comes through your desires, not every desire, but the consistent pull of your heart towards something meaningful. When you have a desire that aligns with purpose and benefits others, it may be more than a desire. It may be a compass pointing you toward your calling. The truth is, divine direction comes in many forms because life itself is dynamic. If God only used one method, we would easily become rigid and mechanical. But by using multiple methods, dreams, peace, counsel, opportunities, discomfort, closed doors, even failures, He keeps us dependent, humble, and sensitive. In daily life, sensitivity is the difference between those who are preserved and those who wander. One person ignores peace, ignores wise counsel, ignores signs of discomfort, and ends up regretting. Another pays attention even to the small signals and is preserved. Divine direction is not always dramatic, but it is always available. It comes in many forms, and the more you open your heart to recognize them, the more your life aligns with purpose. Destiny is too precious to gamble, and yet so many people treat their lives as if they have unlimited chances to get it right. From the moment we are born, a path is laid before us, a design that is unique, a potential that is irreplaceable. Each decision we make, each choice we take, each relationship we enter has the power to either accelerate our journey or derail it completely. Yet how often do people rush into decisions without thinking, without guidance, without pausing to weigh the consequences? Life is not a game of chance, and destiny is not a lottery ticket to be played recklessly. Consider the young man who inherits a small business from his parents. Instead of learning the ropes, asking questions, seeking mentorship, he assumes he knows it all. He gambles with investments, hires without discernment, and tries to cut corners for quick profit. Years later, he looks back and wonders why everything collapsed. He gambled with destiny. Every effort, every resource, every opportunity he could have multiplied was lost because he treated something precious as if it could be risked recklessly. Daily life is full of examples of people gambling with their destiny. A student chooses a course of study because it seems popular or profitable, ignoring their own passion and purpose. They finish the course, work in a field that drains them, and years later realize that the years they spent were not lost entirely, but they could have been accelerated had they chosen wisely. The time, energy, and opportunities lost could never be fully regained. Destiny is too precious to treat like a simple experiment. Even relationships are arenas where destiny is too precious to gamble. A young woman may settle for someone who is available rather than someone aligned with her purpose. She compromises values, ignores red flags, and hopes love will solve everything. At first it feels convenient, but over time she realizes that her emotional energy, her youth, and her dreams have been invested in something that does not build her destiny. If she had waited, sought guidance, and listened to her heart, she could have preserved her future. Many people gamble with opportunities because they are impatient. The world seems to be moving fast, everyone appears to be getting ahead, and fear convinces them that they must act now or lose forever. They take the first offer, they accept the first opportunity, they say yes before thinking. But not all that glitters is gold, and not every path that looks quick is the right one. Patience, reflection, and discernment are the tools that protect destiny from being wasted. Think about finances. Some people invest in ventures without research, without understanding, without consulting those who have experience. They gamble because they're enticed by promises or appearances. The result is often loss, regret, and missed opportunities. Their destiny, in terms of financial stability, freedom, and legacy, is jeopardized by reckless decisions. Wise people understand that while money can be regained, time and opportunity cannot. Destiny is far too precious to risk on ignorance or impulse. Destiny is also too precious to gamble with health. Many young people ignore warning signs, assume they are invincible, and engage in destructive habits. They gamble with their future vitality for fleeting pleasure. Years later, the consequences become visible, sometimes irreversible. The health of your body, the strength of your mind, and the clarity of your focus are foundations of destiny. And when these are gambled away, recovery is difficult, and some opportunities may never return. The principle applies to careers as well. People switch jobs recklessly because of temporary dissatisfaction without assessing the long-term impact. They gamble with good reputation and learning that could have positioned them for greater opportunities. Someone who understands the value of destiny weighs every step carefully, seeks advice, and ensures alignment with long-term vision before acting. The impatient act hastily and often find themselves rebuilding what they could have preserved. Even time itself is a gamble if not handled wisely. Some waste years in trivial pursuits, following fleeting trends, chasing immediate gratification, and neglecting investments that could yield exponential returns in life, relationships, and personal development. Every hour wasted in ignorance or distraction chips away at destiny. The disciplined, the intentional, the reflective person understands that every decision, no matter how small, is an investment in a future that is too precious to risk on chance. The world constantly tempts us to gamble with our destiny. Shortcuts, quick fixes, peer pressure, fear of missing out, the illusion of abundance. All of these whisper lies that the next decision is minor, inconsequential, or reversible. But every major breakthrough in life comes to those who treat their destiny with care, patience, and reverence. It is in deliberate, thoughtful, guided decisions that the foundation of a fulfilled life is laid. Consider the young athlete who dreams of greatness. If he takes shortcuts, ignores training, or relies on luck rather than discipline and guidance, he risks not only injury but a future that could have been extraordinary. The same principle applies to artists, entrepreneurs, leaders, students, and anyone pursuing purpose. Every moment, every choice, every effort compounds. Gambling is careless with what cannot be replaced. Destiny is too precious to gamble because, unlike money, status, or material things, it is uniquely yours. No one else can live your life, walk your journey, or accomplish your purpose in your place. The consequences of gambling are irreversible in many cases. One poor decision, one rushed step, one ignored warning can alter the course of years, perhaps decades. The wise understand that life's value lies not only in motion, but in deliberate, guided, and intentional motion aligned with vision and purpose. Recognizing the value of destiny leads to intentionality. You begin to weigh decisions, to seek counsel, to listen to inner guidance, to observe outcomes, to learn from others' mistakes. You treat relationships, opportunities, time, and health as investments, not experiments. You refuse to gamble with what is sacred, unique, and irreplaceable. Even in daily choices, this principle applies. Whether deciding how to spend a weekend, which friendships to nurture, which course of study to pursue, or what habits to develop, each decision either preserves destiny or risks it. Those who understand the worth of their calling move with caution, purpose, and foresight. They do not leave life to chance. They do not play games with their future. They act intentionally and wisely, because destiny is too precious to gamble. The power of surrendering your will is one of the deepest, most transformative truths you can ever experience in life. Most people live as if they are in total control, constantly pushing, forcing planning, and manipulating circumstances to fit their desires. They believe that strength is in holding on, in insisting on their way, in never yielding. But the reality is that life is far bigger than our understanding, far more complex than our control, and far wiser than our limited perspective. True power is not in domination. True power is in surrender. When you surrender your will, you align yourself with a force greater than your own understanding, and in that alignment, clarity, peace, and progress begin to flow in ways that no amount of effort could produce. Consider daily life. A young woman wants to change jobs because she feels she is not progressing fast enough. She has plans, she has visions, she has expectations of how things should happen. Yet every door she tries to force open remains shut. Frustration builds, stress rises, and she begins to feel inadequate. Then one day she surrenders. She says, I will continue to work hard, but I release my obsession with controlling the outcome. She takes time to listen, to observe, to wait. In that period of surrender, she meets a mentor who guides her to an opportunity she never imagined, in a place she would have never thought to look. The very surrender that felt like weakness became the gateway to breakthrough. Surrendering your will does not mean passivity. It does not mean laziness or apathy. It means acknowledging that while you may act, plan, and strive, the outcome is not entirely within your hands. It means allowing wisdom, timing, and circumstances beyond your control to influence the result. The paradox is that when you surrender, you often gain far more influence than when you insist on forcing your way. Like a river flowing around obstacles, surrender allows you to move forward with power, precision, and grace. Think of a man trying to solve a persistent problem at work. He has tried every approach he knows, argued his point, pushed for results, and grown weary. Nothing works. Finally, in exhaustion, he pauses and surrenders. He listens to advice, he observes patterns he had missed, and he approaches the situation with humility. Suddenly, a solution emerges that had been invisible to him before. Surrender allowed him to see what stubborn insistence had hidden. In relationships, surrendering your will is equally powerful. A couple in conflict may try to force reconciliation through argument, persuasion, or insistence on being right. But when one partner surrenders their pride, listens without judgment, and releases the need to control the other, true understanding begins to emerge. Peace replaces tension, dialogue replaces conflict, and solutions appear that neither could have produced alone. Surrender does not weaken love, it strengthens it by creating space for growth, empathy, and alignment. Daily life gives us small but profound examples of the power of surrender. A student who has prepared for months for an exam but feels anxious and overworked may benefit more from surrendering control than from frantic last-minute revision. By trusting the process, breathing, and letting go of panic, the mind becomes clear, the memory sharper, and the performance better. Surrender does not replace effort, it amplifies it by allowing wisdom and calm to guide action. Sometimes surrender comes through listening to circumstances rather than fighting them. A person may plan a journey or a move, but obstacles arise, delays, denials, cancellations. The instinct is to fight, to force, to resist. But those who surrender see the hidden guidance in the obstacles. The detours teach patience, timing, and resilience. What seemed like disruption may actually be protection or preparation for a better path. Surrender transforms obstacles into opportunities. Consider finances. Someone may have a plan to invest, buy, or spend in a certain way. If they cling too tightly to their plan, ignoring advice, intuition, or warning signs, they may lose. But surrendering the need to control every outcome, listening to counsel, and adjusting decisions accordingly preserves resources and positions them for greater success. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means acting wisely in partnership with forces larger than yourself. Surrendering your will is also about emotional freedom. People who insist on controlling outcomes, relationships, or circumstances carry heavy burdens of fear, anxiety, and disappointment. They are constantly exhausted, constantly stressed, constantly frustrated. When they surrender, they release that weight. Peace enters, perspective clears, and energy is restored. Surrender liberates because it allows life to flow rather than forcing it to conform to your limited expectations. Even in personal growth, surrender is critical. A person may struggle to develop discipline, patience, or wisdom. The harder they push themselves with guilt or force, the more resistant change becomes. But when they surrender to the process, allow themselves to learn at the right pace, and embrace humility, transformation occurs naturally. Surrender creates the conditions for growth rather than imposing it through strain. Think about the story of someone trying to fix a broken relationship. They may call, argue, convince, or plead, but nothing changes. When they surrender their need to control the other person, to manipulate the situation, to force reconciliation, they instead focus on their own conduct, their own growth, and their own peace. In that posture of surrender, the relationship transforms because they are no longer pushing against the natural flow. They are moving with it. Surrender also teaches discernment. When you release the compulsion to force, you begin to notice subtleties that were invisible before. Guidance comes through intuition, signs, counsel, and circumstances that you could never have manufactured through force. The more you surrender, the more sensitive you become to the natural currents of life, and the more aligned your actions become with outcomes that serve your highest purpose. The paradox of surrender is profound. The moment you release control, you gain true influence. The moment you let go of obsession, you discover opportunity. The moment you lay down your pride, you gain wisdom. Surrendering your will is not weakness. It is power mastered. It is wisdom applied. It is the art of moving in harmony with life rather than struggling against it. In daily life, this principle is everywhere if we pay attention. The parent who surrenders their fear for their child's independence, the student who surrenders panic in preparation for calm focus, the professional who surrenders rigid plans in favor of wisdom, the friend who surrenders ego to listen deeply. All experience breakthroughs that could not have been forced. Surrender opens doors, creates clarity, preserves energy, and aligns you with outcomes far greater than you could achieve alone. The power of surrendering your will transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, the struggle into growth, the tension into clarity, and the chaos into order, because it allows life to work with you rather than against you. As we draw the curtain on this moment, take a deep breath and realize that life is not meant to be rushed, forced, or lived in constant fear of missing out. Your journey is uniquely yours, a masterpiece that cannot be replicated, a story that only you can write with your steps, your choices, and your faith. Every decision, every moment of patience, every act of surrender is a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. Many people live their lives in fragments, chasing illusions of success, recognition, and fleeting pleasures, while the true masterpiece waits quietly in the background, waiting for them to pay attention. Remember, success is not measured by how fast you arrive at the destination, but by how aligned you are with the purpose that brought you here. Imagine the power of understanding that your destiny is not a random coincidence. It is not something to be stumbled upon or guessed. It is waiting for you to align yourself with clarity, guidance, and purpose. The moment you embrace this truth, you begin to see life differently. You begin to walk with intention rather than chaos, with direction rather than confusion, with faith rather than doubt. Every step you take becomes a declaration that you are not here by accident, that your life is designed for influence, impact, and legacy. The great leaders, The visionaries, the people whose names echo through history, did not get there by chance. They listened, they learned, they surrendered to guidance, and they acted with precision and purpose. Remember, the mind can be your greatest ally or your fiercest enemy. The thoughts you choose to dwell on, the words you speak to yourself, and the vision you keep alive in your heart will shape the reality you live. If you constantly doubt, fear, or compare yourself to others, you are feeding chaos into your journey. But when you cultivate focus, discipline, and belief in the unseen, you become unstoppable. Napoleon Hill once said, "Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Your imagination is not a random gift, it is a blueprint of your possibilities. When you couple vision with clarity and action, mountains move, obstacles crumble, and opportunities align themselves at your feet. Consider the power of resilience. Life will test you, challenge you, and push you to your limits. There will be moments when you question everything, when the night feels endless, when hope seems distant. But it is in these moments that greatness is forged. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Yet he saw every failure as a lesson rather than a defeat. Your trials are not punishments, they are stepping stones, shaping your strength, your wisdom, and your character. When you face difficulty, do not despair. Remember, your diamonds are formed under pressure, and your potential is being refined by the trials you endure. Is another pillar that cannot be ignored. Talent alone is fleeting. Passion alone is unreliable. Luck alone is unpredictable. What endures is the person who commits to consistent action, who refuses to give up when the world says no, who wakes each day determined to make progress, even if it is small. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but the person who takes the next step, and the next even when the path is unclear, is the one who will ultimately reach heights that others only dream of. Never underestimate the power of patience. The world has a rhythm, and sometimes the timing of life does not match the impatience of your heart. It is easy to compare, to feel left behind, to question your place. But the one who waits with purpose, the one who prepares diligently in the hidden seasons, will see their breakthrough arrive at exactly the right moment. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "The reward of a thing well done is to have done it." Patience does not delay your destiny. It preserves it, aligns it, and ensures that when the doors open, you are ready to step through fully prepared. Faith is another invisible but undeniable force that propels the journey forward. Believing in your vision, trusting in your potential, and having confidence in the process even when circumstances are unclear, creates a magnetic force that draws opportunities to you. Faith is not passive, it is active, dynamic, and requires you to move forward even when you cannot see the full path. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." Every great achievement began with someone daring to trust in the unseen, to act courageously despite fear, and to move forward with unshakable belief. Understand the importance of influence. The way you live your life, the choices you make, and the integrity you carry impact not only your journey, but the lives of those around you. Every act of kindness, every decision rooted in principle, every word spoken with intention sends ripples beyond your comprehension. Legacy is built not just by achievement but by influence. What you plant today in character, wisdom, and courage will bear fruit in the lives of others long after you are gone. Embrace gratitude as a guiding principle. The moment you begin to see life through the lens of appreciation, you shift your energy from scarcity to abundance. Challenges become lessons, failures become feedback, and setbacks become setups for greater achievements. Gratitude does not ignore difficulty, but it empowers you to navigate it with clarity and hope. It transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary lessons and helps you recognize that even in struggle, there is growth, there is opportunity, and there is provision. Finally, never forget that your journey is yours alone, yet it is designed to impact the world. You are a combination of experiences, talents, vision, and influence, and the way you choose to walk your path determines not only your future, but the future of those whose lives intersect with yours. Live intentionally, act courageously, surrender wisely, and move with purpose. Every day is a new page. Every choice is a stroke of your brush. Every action is a declaration of your story. So as you step forward from this moment, remember that clarity, guidance, resilience, discipline, patience, faith, influence, and gratitude are not abstract concepts. They are tools, principles, and forces that shape your destiny. Like Steve Jobs said, "The people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do." You are capable, you are empowered, and your journey matters. Let every step you take, every decision you make, every moment you live, reflect the greatness you are destined to achieve. Your life is a message, your story is a legacy, and your future is waiting for you to claim it with courage, wisdom, and unwavering belief.